The Draenei are aloof by necessity, never able to stay in one place too long with Kil'jaeden being hot on their heels. But an unscheduled crash landing will force a confrontation, one way or another, as we soon shall see. Don't forget to like and subscribe and come, take a seat by the prophet. The ship the Draenei were on was crashing into the world of Draenei, and nothing could stop it. And so they began to make preparations instead. However, one of the 3 Naru that were powering the mighty vessel became injured. This injury emptied the Naru Kara of all of its light, turning it toward the void. Once the change took hold, it immediately went to war against the other Naru on board, and a devastating clash of light and shadow threatened to kill all of the passengers. Valen, however, stepped forward. He used all of his strength to raise a shield, long enough to eject Kara from the ship as it made the final descent into the southern reaches of a region known as Nargrand. Valen, the prophet and leader of his people, had expended much of his power. He was so spent that he could no longer rely perfectly on his visions of the future to guide them. They had become unreliable, and so in his wisdom, he thought of a solution. He would no longer lead his people alone, and instead would create a council of exarchs. They would choose the greatest members of the Draenei to become the prophet's eyes and ears, only answerable to him. The Artificers to lead the craftsmen, the Orkanai, the guardians of holy tomes and the dead, the Ranjari, the scouts and rangers, the Vindicators, who would act as holy warriors for their people, and lastly, the Shattari, who would discern the will of the Naru. To become an exarch, a Draenei must face 3 challenges: a trial of faith, the heart, and of courage. With this system in place, they set about settling on this new world, but they would tread carefully now. They could not reveal their location to those who hunted them, as this time they had no means of escape. But the arrival of the Draenei did not go completely without incident. Indirectly, they had a profound effect upon the Orcish culture. The crashed ship had become a holy place to the Orcish clans, who named what they thought was a crystal mountain oshu'gun. So reverential was this place that it became the area where they would hold the Koshag festival, a feast in which the clans would meet and share news. The Draenei would at times trade with the Orc clans. They would offer their carefully crafted wares and tools in exchange for the bounty of the lands the Orcs had long learned to reap, from thick animal pelts to brightly coloured rugs and woven things. This interaction was infrequent and aloof, a mere curiosity soon forgotten, and both sides seemed to like it that way. Where once the mighty city of Goria had once stood, the Draenei decided to found their city. They named it Shattrath, the City of Light. No other race had claimed it after the terrible events that had led to its destruction. They also constructed the Temple of Karabor, a refuge for the prophet and for any who seek enlightenment and faith. The Naru Kare, who was ejected from the ship before its descent, lingered in the skies above the Shadowmoon Valley. The Shadowmoon clan of Orcs would call it the Dark Star and even begin to worship it. However, in the first few rituals they discovered its connection to the void. Orcs that called upon its strength had their minds shattered, and the practice was immediately outlawed. One of the other Naru, Dore, was also lost in the crash. It was soon discovered that the being's remains were attracting the spirits of the dead. To the south of their beautiful Shattrath city, they constructed a huge mausoleum known as Arkandun, where the remains were moved to, and appointed a new exarch to oversee it, Maladar. But one last change was happening, this time beneath the world. Within the ruined Genadar, now the holy mountain of Oshu'gun, lay the third and last Naru Kore. The exiled orcs that dwelled down there learned to tap into its latent power, granting them unparalleled mastery over the shadow, but turning their skin a sickly white. They would be known now as the Pale. As time passed on, nothing could keep away the nightmare that was Kil'jaeden's relentless hunt. One of his servants had found them, and so the chase resumed anew. However, he was ever cunning, and this time he would be more subtle in his approach. He did not want to reveal himself too early, and would instead look to other races of this world. While he began making his preparations, there was one race on this world that looked upon the Draenei with envious eyes. They needed no provocation. The Ogres wanted to reclaim their once powerful capital, and decided to launch an all-out assault against the city of Shattrath. Led by the Imperator Hoklon, a powerful sorcerer king, they took huge numbers of ogres and descended upon the city. Believing the Draenei had built it using the ancient power of the ogres, one hidden within, and first and only devastating assault began. However, the attack was easily repelled by the city's defences. The counterattack was swifter than any could imagine. Elite members of the Ranjari and the Vindicators would attack simultaneously from all sides. They attacked the king himself, and while he was powerful, he was not prepared for this outcome. Hoklon was slain, which sent the ogre armies immediately into disarray. Balaam would then appear, wreathed in light upon the ramparts. He gave the ogres one last chance to flee, telling them to go home if they wished to live. The war that was meant to revive the once proud Gorian Empire had turned to nothing. Retreating to the city of Highmaul, the ogres would never really recover from this failure, their empire falling into obscurity. The only notable other conflict the Draenei had at this time was with the Bladewind clan. More and more they would raid the caravans of the Draenei, but once the Vindicators started to patrol, even this began to decrease in frequency. But just like his demonic master Sargeras, Kil'jaeden searched for a proxy, one who might become for himself a conduit through which to unleash the terrible retribution he so fervently desired. There was one orc that he saw potential in, one who could be bent, but never broken. He would wait in the shadows until the perfect moment to persuade him. But for now, Draenei will have to wait just a little, as back on Azeroth, new events are beginning to unfold. The guardian Adrian has been lonely for so long. When a mage named Nihilus from the Order of Tirisfal found her, they realised they shared an unlikely connection. He had also grown weary and mistrustful of the council, and the two grew close. Close enough that it was here that their child together would be conceived. He would be named Medivh, and he would bear a fate like no other. Together, Adrian and Nihilus decided that their heir should be the one to receive the power of the Guardian. And so, Adrian imbued her child with all of the cosmic powers, but locked it away until he would come of age. Although painfully, she had to leave her love and her child once more to go back into hiding. She would watch over them though from afar. Now in the care of his father, Medivh would have a happy childhood. He had two very close and notable friends, the Prince of Stormwind, Lame Rin, and a child of the royal court, Anduin Lothar, a trio destined for greatness. Although this happiness belied a terrible darkness, Adrian, when she had transferred her powers onto the child, had inadvertently passed on the infection of Sargeras with it. No longer would it twist her mind alone. it would lie unknowingly to all dormant within her son as well, eagerly awaiting the coming of age and the maturation of a new puppet. The king of Stormwind at the time, Baratheon Rin, was dealing with his own problems, however. The gnolls that had always been a nuisance had been unified under the strength of a new pack leader named Garfang. The safety of their people could no longer be guaranteed. The war against the gnolls dragged on for some time, when the king, in a moment of true bravery, decided to take decisive action to end this once and for all. He rode out with a handful of his best knights and tracked down their leader. Garfang was slain, and the power vacuum it left behind sent the gnolls into a frenzy. The now unfocused gnolls were dispatched and pushed back, thus solidifying the Kingdom of Stormwind as the greatest power in the southern reaches of the Eastern Kingdoms. But as Medivh approaches his 16th birthday, a change on the wind can be felt. But this will have to wait until next time. Thank you to everyone for every like and subscribe. Oh, and don't forget to come back anytime.